Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. I'm Mark Owen, and each week I invite a panel of business experts to review the morning newspapers, find out what's happening in their own individual business and their own individual business sectors, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. And normally I point here at their logo, but it's all changed for them this week. Also, we're going to cover the local elections in the national newspapers, so I'm going to be brief on the bios for a change. Today, we've got Roman Cooper. He used to own Allcooper Security. Now he is the managing director of Allcoopers Property Limited. We'll find out what Roman's been up to and his journey since he sold the business. We got Simon King. He is the head of external business relationships at Hartpury University and Hartpury College. So we find out all about that and also about the Bathhurst Cycling Festival that he's involved with. We got Mark Begg. He's the MD of Sister Fabrication. He bought the business in the height of the pandemic. And we'll find out Mark's journey as well and how he's done since then. And finally, last not least, one of my favourites on the show, we got Glen. He's the director of Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. And we couldn't do the show without Hazelwood sponsorship. So thanks ever so much. We'll find out about that. Okay, let's see what's making the headlines today. I'm just going to, courtesy of the BBC. Here we go. We've got, oh no, I've gone the wrong slot. Here we go. We got The Guardian. If my PC catches. Here we go. The Guardian. PM to allow oil and gas exploration as sites intended for offshore wind. The Daily Express, migrant protests won't stop us doing what is right. The Metro, Mystic Samurai suspect. The Financial Times, FCA chief not convinced on risk posed by private equity. The Times, wrecking ball hits housing plans. The Daily Telegraph, PM to offer island Rwanda deal. The Daily Mail, whose side is Labour really on? The Eye, Labour woos Team Trump as Starmer prepares for power. The Mirror, FA talks over cup crisis. And the Daily Star, fake tan Friday. Okay, and we're going to quickly go over to the election results. Obviously, the election results, it looks like the Conservatives are taking a complete pounding. So far this morning at 7 minutes past 8, the Conservatives are down 122 council seats, Labour up 52, Liberal Democrats 14. What seems to be very, very telling at this particular point is the rise of the independents and the Greens. The question I have for the panel, should you punish the local parties, the local councillors on national issues? Glenn, yes or no? What's your take on it?
I think I'm going to go with no. If you're going to make me make a decision on that, I'm just thinking of historically. I'm a Gloucester boy. Like when I was growing up, so before I could vote, Liberal Democrats were very well liked in this area, very much in the local authorities. But if I've got my memory correct, it was Sally Oppenheimer for the Conservatives that was always in as an MP, and so they were really popular and did a really good job in the area. So I think they're much more grassroots, aren't they? You know, they usually live down the end of your street. So I'm going to stick with a no on that one.
Okay, Simon, same question to you. Should you punish the party, local party at a national level?
I'd almost go with the same. We can really no. I don't think. I mean, it's the same thing. You know, our local Lib Dem lives just round the corner from me, and you see on a regular basis. They understand what local issues are. What Glenn's been saying, really, they have got their feet on the ground, and they know what's going on. They know what's focus should be, what's the issues locally, and then you get this rather disjointed Westminster-based perspective that and I'd not, and it seems like the locals get punished, if you like, in a way, or local politicians get punished from what's going on in the national and even an international arena.
Okay, thanks so much for that viewpoint. Mark, what's your take on it as well?
I think it's a hard one to separate often from an emotional point of view. I think that's where part of it is. To push me for an answer, I think no as well. You need to judge what's going on locally and not necessarily what the overall party is doing.
Okay, fair play. Roman, are you the same? Or would you be? Let's kick them now. Give them a good kick in while we can.
No, not at all. I think that either your branding as a Conservative or a Labour, the policies should run through from your national policies all the way down to your local policies. And what we've got, and I think Simon used the word disjointed, is a complete disparity, but with what people think of, for example, in Gloucester, a conservative type administration with conservative values, if you like. And those aren't being demonstrated at a national level, and then the local guys are being walloped for it. So, well, we don't know, but we don't know yet. Obviously, the results aren't in, but we assume that that's the case. So, if you're a conservative, typically, I would suspect, voted locally, you'd probably vote nationally in an election. It would be weird if you voted Conservative, say in Gloucester, and then Greens nationally. So but obviously there's a disconnect. So, so we're going to get punished.
Okay, I think they're definitely going to get punished with what's happened nationally. Thanks ever so much for that, Roman. Okay, let's have a quick review of the papers. We've got 2 minutes each to go through the papers. Glenn, what have you picked out for us, please?
Yeah, so you showed this already. It's the wrecking ball hits housing plans in the Times. And there's a quote that councils were accused last night of adopting a scorched earth strategy. And what's happening here is that they are of the opinion that because that Labour really want to increase the amount of construction of houses, the Tory councils have reduced their demand for housing, almost as if to scupper their plans, before they even start. That's the accusation, and that's what the Times are suggesting. Then, sticking with our theme today, which seems to be the elections, not surprisingly, Conservatives braced for plots of mischief after local elections. So that's slightly in line with my last story, which is that there's going to be all sorts of shenanigans going on behind the scenes to make it harder for their next incoming power. And there's also a nice picture of Mayor Sadiq Khan with his dog. And then on a non-political point, this is the problems that the Co-op Arena is having in Manchester. There's a lot of outrage after shows axed at new Manchester venue. It always seems a shame to me. Whatever the reason is for that to happen, what we need is more culture, and we need more venues, and we want to be able to go and watch things and enjoy the fact that we are actually, a lot of us, trying to work hard and earn money to do things we enjoy. So it's always a shame when something goes wrong, whatever the reason.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Glenn. I'm going to go straight down to you, Simon. What have you picked out for us today, please?
Well, I grabbed the Guardian, and like you pulled out, the headline was actually, allowing oil and gas exploration sites intended for offshore wind. And you think, okay, where are we all going now with our environmental targets and agenda? But then I flicked straight through to the business section and came up with, what actually is happening with our economy. And so some of these headline decisions that the government are making, and where they've talked about oil exploration, and the fact that actually doesn't add directly into the economy anyway. So you're thinking, okay, so why are we doing that? But actually, in terms of the G7, we are the least, or predicted to be by the OECD, the least performing economy. And you look through that and think, okay, and the government obviously trying to bring down inflation and using that as the base reason for that low performance. But ultimately, what are the answers? And I think it gets back to the politics and what we've just been talking about. We don't seem to have an answer. So
no, and it's interesting that the German economy is failing so badly as well. Actually, if my poor dad was still alive today, he'd be punching the air because my mum was German, so he always used to like the German economy to take a hit. Anyway, we got one other one side.
Europe for so many years, isn't it? Their motor industries, etc. Then there was one other, Mark. Actually, I didn't say to you just now. It was actually, yesterday was National Password Day. I bet a few people missed that one. Yeah, so just check your passwords, all about the cyber security. But another one I found yesterday was actually all about scientists trying to create a healthier white bread. So this is on the old IE version. And they're actually going to be or aiming to attempt to create a new type of white bread that is just as healthy as wholemeal. Now, I'm sure you'll have a view on vegan sausages and other types of product, Mark, but this is all coming out of Aberystwyth University and studying the composition of white flour and sort of adding all the things back that we normally take out for white bread. But I'm sure it'll be just as tasty and soft and doughy as you prefer.
I doubt it very much. But anyway, thanks ever so much for that, Simon. Great bunch of stories. Mark, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, I mean, I've been through the papers and trying to find something that's positive with, all the economies going down, businesses going broke, sales figures down, and everything else. It's actually been quite hard. So I've actually gone a little bit off script there, and I've gone for a feel good one, and that's about the orangutan that they've seen and witnessed applying a medical leaf to a wound, uh, which I think is quite an amazing thing. They've proven that it's not just a coincidence or other bits and pieces in it, but he's chewed up the leaf that is known to have medical or medicinal properties all over the top of a wound repeatedly to help the healing of the wound. So it's quite a feel good one in that the understanding that this has either been discovered or passed down through the generations of orangutans is quite an amazing thing. So that's my feel good side of it today. I've also, like my motorsport, and in the news or all over the news in the last couple of weeks, has probably been one of the worst kept secrets in Formula One, and that's around Adrian Newey leaving Red Bull, and most probably being announced sometime this weekend during the Miami Grand Prix to be going to Ferrari.
Right.
So it's a very interesting one. He's been the chief architect to Red Bull's success over the past 2 decades. Probably one of the most prolific Formula One designers of all time. So that's a huge move there and a huge coup for Ferrari if they do it, considering that they've also now signed up Lewis Hamilton for next year as well.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thanks ever so much for that. Mark, thank you. Roman, what have you picked out for us, please?
Hi, Mark. Just two or three things. The one was on the Irish and British problems that we're having with immigrants who are going from England over to Northern Ireland and then heading into Ireland. The Irish jumping up and down about this because obviously they're getting a bit of the medicine that maybe the Greeks and the Italians and everybody in Southern Europe has had, and they've been tucked away from it all on the northwest of Europe. And we noticed that today that they're going to court again to reverse the decision that said that England or the UK was an unsafe island to return immigrants to, because obviously they want to return the immigrants, and they're now changing it again to say that we are safe. And it's quite hilarious, really, that that they're all using it as a stick to beat each other with. So we're using it as a stick to beat the French with, to say, well, if we can't send them back to France, you can't send them back to the UK. And the Irish are saying, well, hang on a minute, you can't just let all these people come into Northern Ireland and then into Ireland, can you? And I understand that was quite a big point of the recent Brexit negotiations, was that border was as open as it could possibly be. So
doesn't go. Can I stop you? Doesn't this go to show that the Rwanda idea is working? If the people are actually leaving before the flights start and they're leaving the UK to go to Ireland or leaving, doesn't it go to show that it could work?
Well, I think, yeah, of course. I mean, if there's a chance to, I mean, Ireland can't play. They all there's that sort of victim card that they can play occasionally against the British, and it's quite useful for them. But I mean, they're talking about setting up a sovereign wealth fund, so they've got a much higher GDP per person than we have, and so they're a very wealthy country. And yet they're jumping up and down now because they've got immigrants on the sleep. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah, that Rwanda principle is working, that people don't want to go to Rwanda.
Okay. Well, thanks ever so much for that, Roman. That's all we got time for the papers today. Right, Glen, let's talk about Hazewoods. Thanks ever so much for your sponsorship as always. And I think you guys have changed your brand, so let's go over to have a look at your new spanky website.
Well, there we are, BBC. Yeah. So here we go. So what's happened is that, we're a service industry, of course, and so what's most important is the people. And so our new, as well as the actual branding and colours and things like this. So take our view there, and a lot of the images you'll see, especially all those people you can see there, these are people from Hazelwoods, rather than using stock photos of models and things like that. I mean, I know all those people in there. So as I said, rather than pick people that no one's ever met, your clients, for example, would actually see people they know. I mean, that's Indy there with the curly hair. So that's what we've tried to do, is to bring the people to the forefront of the business, and then also just for those people who are into their marketing and whatever, you can see our actual branding there in the top left corner where it says Hazelwoods. There's a slight colour change, but we've kept our overall red colour, though I believe this is technically scarlet or something like that. Simplified the actual name Hazelwoods, and this is recognising the fact that almost everything's electronic nowadays, and where you have and you want something quite clear that will come over better on the screen, whereas previously our corporate identity had been more designed for the traditional accountancy view of letterheads and compliment slips and all that kind of thing. And so there's a whole big rebrand, relaunch. And as you can see, our external website there is going to be, that's Alison, who's actually the marketing director, who was forefront in this. So you did well to find that there. The idea being is that obviously people can get on the site and also get to places they want to get to more easily. Where we have all these analytics and everything, you can work out where it is that people actually want to go. You can have 100 pages of really useful, that you think is really useful information. Nowhere everyone clicks on it. What they do click on, though, is, say, for example, people, or they'll click on the obvious things like contact us. And so it's just making sure that the traffic to the site is going where people actually want to go to, rather than where we think they want to go to.
Well, I think that's a fantastic explanation from the tax advisor giving marketing thing there. So well done. I just want to say you were well briefed on that, Glenn. Very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Give us the news on the sort of tax front at the moment, the pure business side of things. Is there something going on at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, clearly we've got an election, and as in the general election that's coming. What's really interesting from my perspective is that, of course, both main parties are setting out their stall, and particularly my area of the world, which is personal taxation and non-domiciles and this sort of thing. The Conservatives came up with a plan for what they want to do with non-domiciles. Always been a controversial area, and they're really just trying to head off the idea that they're trying to copy Labour. Let's just say that they've come up with some quite reasonably detailed proposals. But even more recently than that, Labour have said, well, if we get, we're going to scrap all that, what you've said, and we're going to do something else again. And so from my perspective, trying to advise people who are, let's call them non-domiciles, is actually very challenging at the moment, because people say, well, what am I going to do? And I'll have to say, well, they'll say, tell me these new rules. And I'll have to say, well, these new rules haven't come in yet. So I can only vaguely say it. And they're probably not even going to be there if Labour coming in everywhere, because they're going to probably make it even more difficult, or certainly significantly different. So it's quite from my perspective, it's quite an exciting time, really.
Well, I tell you one thing, it just goes to show what a mess the country is going to find itself in. We're going to be treading water over the next 6 months until there's an election. And let alone maybe the Tories might do a scorched earth policy. Who knows? What they're going to do next. Yeah. Thanks ever so much for that take on it. Simon, let's go over to you. Thanks for joining the show for the first time. Great to see you. I know that you've been involved with the agri-tech side of stuff at Hartpury. Can you just explain what that is and what is the agri-tech box?
Sure. Yeah. We about 5-6 years ago, Hartpury invested in a agri-tech centre, so a sort of outward-facing facility where we would, get some experts around that and start helping farmers look at the future of future technologies for farming, for agriculture, where along various agendas, obviously business efficiency, environmental, benefits, and all this sort of thing, using more technology to help not only just robotics, but sort of measure what's going on, forecasting, safety, security, a whole range of things. So that sort of got started. And then what we wanted to do is actually bring businesses into Hartpury, because we've got this commercial farm. So, and it's there operating, it's there for the benefit of the students, obviously, primarily, but also to operate and produce food. And so we said, okay, well, let's get some business here with new tech, trying to encourage these entrepreneurs and business people to come into Hartpury. And that's what we did. So we built this tech box park. So it's actually a series of actually converted shipping containers, and we've sort of put it all together. And it's now occupied by technology companies that are actually looking at how they can explore all these technologies from, Starlink, that actually then can come into, geolocating and all those sorts of things about actually how you can, get more technology into your rural business, if you like. And that ties in then to a latest project we've got, which is actually a government innovation region, and where we're actually exploring the potential of 5G, and actually can 5G and encouraging the main, the suppliers, the network suppliers to actually put out 5G. But of course, if there's no market demand, you've got to actually try and drive that and convince people that 5G is a technology, in terms of that wireless connectivity that you can use and benefit your business. Because you go to a lot of rural places, and you're lucky to get a phone signal, let alone 5G.
I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. If you get a chance to go down there, it really is worth a look. Simon, you're also involved with Bathhurst Cycling Festival. Can you just very, very briefly tell us about that? I know it is on the May the 11th, is that right?
That's right. Yeah. All day on May 11th. Yeah, so I do some work with Bathurst, the city Bathurst in New South Wales, Australia. I've been doing that since about 6 years now. Spent some time living down there and learned a bit more about Australia and what makes them tick, etc., etc. And then, long story short, but basically they said that, sort of post-pandemic stuff, they had a big cycling festival they wanted to restructure, and said would be willing to sort of get stuck in with them in Cirencester. So that was the beginnings of something called Bathurst Gravel, and they sort about guys, Australians are really keen on their cycling. They got this guy Mark Renshaw, who's Tour de France lead out man for Mark Cavendish, so they're really sort of into their elite cycling. And we said, okay, but how do we do all that? So eventually we said, let's have a gravel ride, mountain bike ride, and so we've created this event on the Bathurst Estate, so Cirencester Park. The Australians do it on the same day down in Bathurst, Australia. So they're 9 hours ahead. So they're going to cycle around down there. We're going to have a video link. And I've got an Australian friend here. We've got a friend who's Brit down in Australia. And we're going to get these. We're going to have a chat between as they finish, and they're having a tinny and a fire pit, in the dark, actually, in Australia. Well, it will be then at 10, it'll be about 9 o'clock in the morning here. And then we're going to start our ride. And so if people want to come along, it's going to be basically it's an off-the-road circuit, so we're targeting families. So we've got a family ticket, and you can get someone that's not so confident on the road maybe to cycle around the estate.
And you can also find all the information on our website and our What's On section.
And all that stuff, bathurstgravel.com.
And I just want to say, by the way, thank you ever so much for sending me your CV, Simon.
Yeah, any jobs?
I've never had anyone send me a CV before.
Yeah, there you go. I'll give you the full work. So yeah, always available for employment.
Well, that's it. And very thorough it is too. Very impressive. Thanks so much. My CV would be shockingly bad. Anyway, thank you, Mark. Sorry, thank you for that, Simon. Mark, we'll come over to you. Right, I mean, we first met during the pandemic. You're just taking over your business. Here, taking over Cirencester Fabrication. Do you want to explain about the business itself, what it actually does, what it's all about, Mark, and then where you are now?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Yes, we obviously met up just after I purchased it, and I think one of the things that I said to you was it was one of the Cirencester's best kept secrets, or at least fabrication secrets, and I still get people turning up and saying, we didn't know you were there, we didn't know you did this, we didn't know you did that, despite all the extra efforts that we've been doing over that time. So what is it that we do? We make things out of metal, basically, is the most easiest way to say. Everything from structural steels through to more ornate furniture and railings and gates and traditional sort of things that you would think about that metal workers do. But we also do more architectural things. So especially around the likes of Cheltenham, you look at all the buildings there, all the nice ornate wrought iron and other bits and pieces. And we work on a lot of these as well in replacing, damaged wrought iron or other bits and replacing those. We've just done some design work to make a big ornate set of gates as well. So we do a lot of those sort of things. Where are we now? So I brought the business 3.5, almost 4 years ago now. In that time, we've now almost doubled the size of the business. So I think, given the doom and gloom around, we've sort of found a niche that's really worked for us. We've worked hard at what we do. One of the key things we look for, and I look for on the workshop floor, is the quality of things. Even if it costs me a little bit extra to actually fabricate or do something, I want to make sure that it goes out the door right. And I think that's been testament to it, whereby our repeat customers, the sort of recommendations for us, that's the main thing about growing the business. I haven't gone and spent thousands and thousands of pounds worth of marketing, although I'm sure, Mark, you wouldn't mind me spending a little bit more. But that's where we've been growing it. So that's where we've been. Now, for the next couple of years, the next part of the growth is not just making things for other people. We've created a new brand called Collingbourne that you see just above my shoulder here. And Collingbourne is very much around selling our own metal products. And it's also a design studio, whereby we'll work with you on your own designs of what you actually want, through the concepts right through to fabrication and delivery of a final product. The actual pieces that we do are very much focused on around outdoor living. Simon just mentioned the fact that, Australians love being outdoors. I'm a Kiwi. We love being outdoors. So very much the first set of products is around outdoor living. You can go and buy things here, nice and cheap fire pit. However, it will last one season and then you will never use it again. That's the opposite of what we want. We want our things to basically last a lifetime. So we put long-term guarantees on our products. The quality of the metal that we use, the quality of the finish that we use is such that, it will be there in 5, 10, 20 odd years. And in fact,
Yep. Mark, I'll have to stop you there because I know that we'll be here for a long time otherwise.
That's all right.
Otherwise, and we only have so much time. I know you built. Just very quickly, how many staff have you got, and what sort of turnover was it last year? Or
we started on 6 staff. We're now at 13. We're looking to grow to probably around 15 by the end of the year. And turnover, we turned over 6 figures last year for the first time.
Wow, congratulations.
Seven, sorry. That's 6.
7 figures.
Six zeros, yeah.
Well, congratulations. That's a lot of hard work in a very difficult marketplace with rising cost of energy, rising cost of staff. It's a tough gig, isn't it?
Rising cost of steel. I mean, the Ukraine crisis and everything else, the cost of steel went up 30, 40, 50% over the course of the last 2 years as well.
I mean, how did you mitigate that, just very quickly?
Very hard. You had to take a hit on it because it went up overnight. So your quotes that were out, you couldn't do anything about those quotes. Some of them you could work with the clients and adjust, but prices have had to go up, and that's across the board, not just us. That's across all sectors. Wood prices, carpentry, everything's gone up. Concrete, everything with chemicals and minerals and other bits and pieces in it.
And one last thing, I know that welders are extremely well paid. Someone once told me that a welder can earn like £100,000 a year now.
Yeah, I'd love to say that's with us, but not with us. It's more the welders, if you're a specialty welder, whereby you've got the likes of your nuclear certificates or your pipeline certificates. So all these high pressured sort of things. We don't touch anything of those.
Okay, and also I don't want to get your welders watching the show thinking, actually, I want a pay rise. But anyway, thanks.
Thanks for that.
Roman, great to see you again. Obviously, you were involved with the G First LEP for quite some time as well, wearing various hats. Tell us about the business itself that you run now. So you've sort of it's a property company, isn't it?
Yeah. So when Gerard and I sold the business, well, we've always had property within when we had Allcooper Security. So we would buy a property and operate out of it, and then put, with the pension environment, put it in the pension and pay that off. So we moved into Gloucester. We bought the old BMW site, or the Saab garage opposite the rugby club, in 2015, and then we spent a couple of years doing it up and moved in there. And it was a great site. So we converted. It was derelict, so we converted it into offices. And we have some lovely tenants there currently. So we've got effectively 11 units on that site. And the majority of the site, or the largest unit, was actually went with the property when we sold it to Securitas, the business to Securitas. Securitas, for one reason or another, pulled out of that office at the end of March this year, and we're now looking for new tenants, which we've got 2 or 3 lined up. Unfortunately, because we built it for ourselves and we weren't planning to sell the company, it's a not bespoke entirely, but it's a quite a big old chunk. It's 8,000 square feet. So we're probably going to have to adjust it into 2, possibly 3 units to get it gone. So yeah, so hopefully by September we should have some new tenants in there. We've got a sort of program of works. We'll be starting in June sometime.
Yeah, and you've got it's a nice little business park that's developing there with plenty of car parking as well, isn't it? Right near King's Own.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's been great. And then last year we let the James Hopkins Trust use the car park for match days, and they actually sold season tickets. Unfortunately, due to I think there's an issue with volunteers in the third sector anyway. They couldn't quite get the people to man it this year, if you like. So it's a brilliant facility. It's been a great unit for us, and we've had a lot of interest in it. And we haven't actually advertised it, although we've got a lot of friends in the property market. We haven't actually needed to advertise it.
How did you find this sort of transition from selling the business, the sort of Allcoopers working with your brother to sort of stepping aside 100 staff? How was that transition for you?
It was a slow transition. So I stayed on with the business for 18 months, and they were very good. They were brilliant, and they just made a couple of strategic changes then, and we decided that it was probably the time to leave. And then I actually just needed a decompression chamber because that was a family business for 33 years. So I bought a little bungalow in Long Levens and spent 18 months sort of doing everything to that. So I did all the heating and plumbing and electrical stuff, all the lot. And then that was great. So that was really good. It was weird to put my phone on the windowsill in the morning and it never rang all day. All day, every day, it didn't ring. So that was really strange. And then we did that as a project. And then my wife and I, we bought a little cottage down in Falmouth as a holiday let. So it was a business decision more than anything, because obviously we don't have a trading company. And I'm actually here now. I don't know if you can see. I'll just do that at the window there. I don't know if that's if you can see. Sorry.
Oh, nice.
So we're overlooking Falmouth Harbour. So we're just getting it ready for the summer season. So that's been very good. So that's a new thing. But the big thing about not having a trading company anymore is not employing staff. We had guys there that I worked with for 25 years. They were great people. And I see them now and again, and it's lovely to catch up with someone. I saw one of the Tony Simmons. I saw Tony in Tesco's last week, and he's doing very well within Securitas. So yeah, that's a big change, not employing people.
I bet. And going from like you said, suddenly the phone doesn't ring. And talking about that, it's a very nice link back over to councillors who lose their seats. Suddenly the phone doesn't ring anymore. For being so busy. It can be actually quite heartbreaking for many of them. Thanks ever so much for that, Roman, and that insight there. Okay, we've got to be very quick because we're running out of time. We're just the last bit of the show, we're gonna go back over to you, Glenn. Very quickly, the pick of the punchlines, please. What's your pick?
I picked one. It's a couple of weeks old, but has some relevance. It's your story on Tesla and making people redundant, 14,000 jobs lost. And I'm picking that up because you're either well ahead of the game, or which could well be the case, or also you just got the zeitgeist, because I heard on the radio only yesterday that something like another 16,000 jobs had been lost, which either might be additional or might be the same, as I say. And that was specifically in their recharging network. And that the big surprise there was it's considered that their charging network is really successful. So it's quite surprising, I think. And so it's good that as I said, you'd obviously nailed that already. You picked up what was going on there, and then there seems to be even more added. So I find that particularly helpful, particularly as I am actually a Tesla driver.
Okay, thanks ever so much for that. Mark, I'm going to go to you. What have you picked out from Pick of the Punchlines this week?
Yeah, I think there's an automotive theme running through your punchline bits this week as well. So I've picked the Aston Martin story that the Aston Martin shares have gone into reverse. So revenues are down, losses are up, overall sales are down as well. I had the opportunity to actually go round their factory last year. I don't know if you've been up there, Mark, but it's a fantastic factory. So see everything in decline. It's not a surprise given the current economy, but a lot of the wealthy don't seem to be quite as affected as many of us.
Not at all. And they make these Aston Martins in St. Athens, where my dad used to be stationed and we used to live. Anyway, thanks ever so much for them, Mark. Simon, what have you picked out from this week's punchline, please?
Yeah, I saw it yesterday's, and it was top of your list actually, and it was some sad news really, in a sense that a worker died over in the Mibena factory, the Centauri factory over in the forest, and you just, from my agricultural background in health and safety, you just think, wow, these things are really, they hit you really, and I think that sometimes those headlines you just think, oh, poor families, and what on earth happened in a sophisticated plant like that really does is I suppose an archetype modern facility, and a key economic driver of the county really.
Yeah, and our thoughts go with the family and to the company. Terrible time for them. Roman, what have you
Hi,
picked?
Mark. Yeah, I was really heartened by your article on Vinted, second-hand clothes. So obviously, maybe the economy is driving people to buy second-hand clothes for practical reasons, financial reasons, not just for fashion reasons. And it made a profit for the first time, and it's expanding. So you think that with eBay and all the other channels that are currently sewn up, but I noticed that eBay now are advertising very heavily for you can advertise and sell clothes on eBay for free, buyers and sellers. So they're really fighting back. But it's lovely to see a company taking on the behemoths and winning.
And all that recycling. Let's be honest about it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. Thanks ever so much. But my pick of the punchlines has to be the local elections and the election of the PCC, which we'll find out more about today. And it'll have such a huge impact on all of us personally and professionally as well. And we can't ignore it. And I'm very proud, if you don't mind me saying, flying our own flag of the coverage that we actually put. It's a lot of time, effort, and money that goes into actually trying to make sure that we cover it correctly. So a big thank you to the rest of my Punchline team. And that's all we got time for this week. I'd just like to say a big thank you to my wonderful guests and panelists this week. Also to our wonderful sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors. And finally, all of you that watch the show. If you like the show, please like, share and subscribe. And remember, it's all in the Punchline. Bye.